Another edition of Out of the Starting Gate here in the Oaklawn Today studios. I'm track announcer Matt Dinerman here at Oaklawn. Out of the Starting Gate, sponsored by Oaklawn Park, and we've got plenty of good things to go over. Of course, this past week we had a lot of big performances, big races. We'll talk about each of them. Then we switch gears to this week, Apple Blossom Week. Of course, always a big week here at Oaklawn Park every year, and that will be the case once again this week for the 2026 Apple Blossom, and quite a few good race cards throughout the week. Then we'll talk about a clocker pick. I've got an interesting first-time starter for you in a high-level maiden claiming race I think can do good work at first asking. And then finally, we'll take a look at Sovereignty, last year's Kentucky Derby winner, see how he's progressing as we get really close now to the Oaklawn Handicap, which will be run a week from next Saturday. And of course, I'll be having a special guest on here out of the Starting Gate for next week's Oaklawn Handicap edition. But for now, we get to Apple Blossom edition of Out of the Starting Gate, our 2026 Apple Blossom. We'll talk about that field in a little bit. For now, let's rewind to last week, and we will first talk about two stakes races that we saw last week, both for Arkansas bred sprinters, 6 furlong events, both races. We'll start with the Rainbow Miss on Friday for 3-year-old Arkansas bred fillies. And in this race, we saw Walkaway K get a 70 buyer running down Cuda Cutie in this race. We pumped up this matchup last week. We said these are the two to beat. They're clearly faster than everybody else, it appears on paper, and that's exactly what happened on the track. Walkaway K, well-timed run there by not only the jockey Eric Asmussen, but the horse herself, Walkaway K, who has done good work here at Oaklawn this meeting. She has competed in open company stakes races. Earlier this meet, we saw her running an older allowance race for Arkansas breds where she was second best and came on with a strong surge that day and running second, and she did the same thing here but getting the job done. The connections indicated after this race in the winner's circle with our post-race interview from Nancy Holthus that Walkaway K could run next in the Natural State Breeders' Stakes for Arkansas bred fillies and mares at 1 mile. This is for older runners as well, so she'd be jumping out of those restricted 3-year-old events going into the older horse division with this, but the connections indicating they feel she will love going 2 turns. And I agree. I think she's built like a filly that should like the added distance. It'll be interesting if she's better going 2 turns or if she's the same as going 1 turn, but I do think that the 2 turns shouldn't be a problem for her. Walkaway K, clearly the best 3-year-old Arkansas bred filly we have in that division here, and she gets that well-earned stakes win, her first stakes win and her second lifetime victory for this gal here, owned and bred by J. Rita Young Thoroughbreds. We go to Saturday's race number 10. Our feature race on the program was the Rainbow Stakes, so the fillies got their chance on Friday, and then on Saturday, the boys got their turn to take a shot at a stakes win here. $150,000 the purse, just like the Rainbow Miss Stakes. This, of course, for Arkansas bred 3-year-old sprinters at 6 furlongs, and 70s Music wheeling back in just a week after a dominant maiden win on Arkansas Derby Day, nails Instamania in the last stride. This was a good effort. I mean, he had run subpar races in 2 wet track tries, ran on the fast track on Arkansas Derby Day, and then he got the wet track. So, as we mentioned last week on Out of the Starting Gate, I was a little bit concerned. Is this runner just better on fast track surfaces than wet track surfaces? I guess the question has been answered. No. I mean, this horse clearly can run well in the wet going, and that light bulb is really turned on for him. 70s Music coming like a rocket here down on the inside, and in the last centimeter, just got there over Instamania. Who is going to be tough in a maiden race next time out? He's still a maiden. First time out, he broke slowly, ran second to Stroll's Mischief, who ran third in this race and went off as the post-time favorite. But Instamania came like a rocket that day for second, galloped out big. This time around, he broke a lot better, showed a lot more natural speed, and was a little bit keen early on in the race. And Francisco Arrieta into the far turn, found a seam on the rail, and went up to challenge the front runner, who was Stroll's Mischief on this day. They went head-and-head from about the 3 furlong pole. Instamania was able to shake clear down the lane, and he got run down late by 70s Music. I think with a little bit of a better trip, Instamania would have won. He didn't need more than a centimeter or two to win if he was ahead of 70s Music at the finish. That was not the case, but this horse I thought ran a really good race, and we see that sometimes with horses in their second start. First time out, maybe they don't show as much speed. They don't really know what a horse race is because they've never participated in it, and then they finally run in a race second time out. They're a lot more fit, first of all, like this horse showed, but also they're more on the bridle. They know what's going on. They're keen to do it, especially horses like him that appear to like to run, and we saw that first time out with the way he ran on down the lane. I thought the top two both ran really, really well, and I'm really excited to track them, especially next year as 4-year-olds. Both horses with a lot of ability, but I would imagine if Instamania is healthy, we'll see him one more time here at the current meeting, going that one turn, going 6 furlongs, and in a maiden special weight, he will be low odds to win. I would imagine if he runs like this, he'll be awfully tough in a maiden race. We go to Thursday's second race. Let's talk about some other big performances. We talked about the 2 stakes races on the weekly docket last week, and we start with Thursday's second race, a starter allowance. It was a starter 12.5 for runners at 1 1/8. Why this is significant: Bright Spark was the winner of this race. He went off at low odds. Christian Torres rode for trainer Kevin Martin. Kevin claimed this horse for $10,000. Great claim, by the way. The reason this is significant is because Bright Spark, right here with this win, he looks like the early favorite for the Trails End on May 2nd. That'll be the first Saturday in May here at Oaklawn. The last race every year, going 1 3/4. It's a starter allowance. This horse fits the eligibility rules, and he surely looks like the horse to beat as long as he can go 1 3/4, which is a long way around. Some horses can go 1 1/8. They don't necessarily have the stamina to go 1 3/4, but if he can, he's for sure the favorite in the Trails End Stakes, and he'd be awfully tough in there. A horse that always gets 90 buyers, high 80 buyers on his best days. He got an 89 for this, so really ran well this race here. That's Bright Spark with a good effort. On the wrong lead late down the lane, but he always shows up at these starter allowance type of conditions, and if he can go the 1 3/4, he's going to be just fine and competitive in that affair on closing day of our 2026 meet here at Oaklawn. Found a couple of up-and-comers for you. Let's get to Thursday's 4th race. It's a first-level allowance we're taking a look at here for fillies and mares at 1 1/16. Pronghorn hit the line 3 1/4 lengths ahead of the runner-up finisher. Got an 83 buyer for this effort. A $400,000 filly by Triple Crown winner Justify, and is out of multiple Grade 1 place, Grade 3 winner Donna Veloce. Very well-bred filly. She broke her maiden earlier in the meet by open lengths, going a flat mile here at Oaklawn, and I would imagine that if this filly continues to train well and stay healthy, the Dig-A-Diamond Stakes, which is a stake race, a $200,000 affair for fillies and mares 4-year-olds and upward at the flat mile. I would imagine this could be her next target. With a pedigree like hers, it's important to note that black type is important. Of course, black type meaning stakes place, stakes wins, graded placings, graded wins. For broodmare life down the line for fillies, especially fillies and mares that are well-bred like her, it's good to get that black type, and Pronghorn passing this allowance condition. They may pass the second level allowance condition and try to get some black type in the Dig-A-Diamond Stakes. So that's the thought there. I think Pronghorn would be a good candidate for that for trainer Steve Asmussen. And we're going to stay on the Steve Asmussen train here, as we saw a very impressive winner first out for the Asmussen barn in race 6 on Thursday. Let's take a look at that. This was for 3-year-old fillies, maiden special weight sprint here for 6 furlongs. Feminism. Wow, I mean, she made a very positive impression here with this 2 3/4 length win. Gate to wire here, showed a lot of natural speed. She's a daughter of Curlin out of a Grade 3 winner, Mufaja, who was purchased for $975,000 as a 2-year-old in training. So she must have looked good on the track. She sure looked it when she raced for the first time this past week. The thing about Feminism that I thought was interesting was Steve entered her in this race with just 3 workouts. Had an easy 3 furlong work, easy half-mile work, and then a very fast gate work. All at Sam Houston, these workouts, 58 4 out of the gate. And Sam Houston is not the fastest track time-wise. So Steve must have looked at this filly, thought, A, she's pretty good, but B, she's got a lot of conditioning in her. Let's enter her in a race, something you don't see often, going 3, 4, 5, and then boom, they're in. Especially with a filly that has been purchased for this type of money, $975,000. And showed speed, broke well, was in the bridle right away, dealt with pressure on the far turn, kept going. She has pedigree to suggest that distance won't be a problem. The Curlins, they typically can run all day, and the Curlins also get better with age. So I thought this was super impressive. I thought that there's a lot of raw ability here. I think the sky's the limit. I really like her. I think she could be very, very good. With that first race, not a lot of seasoning. The way she ran has a lot of ability. I'm really excited to keep an eye on her. If she sticks around at Oaklawn, maybe she can run in the Southern Hospitality Stakes on April 24th. That's a race for 3-year-old fillies at 6 furlongs. It's possible. We know that Steve Asmussen, he's a trainer who is not scared to come back in less than a month with horses, even horses of high quality. He's a type of trainer. He's a very versatile type of trainer. Some trainers, they have a certain way of training, a certain way they campaign. Steve is very individualized with his horses. Horses that need time between races, he's going to give them time. Horses that are ready to run and there's a race in the schedule, even if they're high quality, low quality, doesn't matter. He'll enter them if they're ready and they're fit and they're healthy. So it wouldn't be a shock to me if we see Feminism in the Southern Hospitality. Might be willing back a little bit quick, 3 weeks, but nonetheless, this is a filly with a bright future and certainly a filly that has stakes all over the page with the pedigree. The talent is there to be a stakes filly. Very, very nice filly of Feminism. Finally, we'll talk about another Steve Asmussen trainee in a playback segment here, a runner that I think you could very much play back in the next start. Parking Lot Pours. We go to Friday's 5th race here. I just think this horse was a very unlucky loser. Was sort of waiting behind horses on the turn. Eric Asmussen rode this horse very patiently. Knew he had a lot of horse, got outside turning for home to keep this horse out of traffic, especially in these type of races, which is a claiming race, a lower level claimer. Horses down the lane, some of them are going to back out. And I think Eric knew he had a lot of horse, and he knew he had the horse to beat, I think. So he got this runner outside, lost some ground on the far turn turning for home, and only lost by a narrow margin here, as you can see. Good trip play for next time. Just a little bit unlucky with a little bit of a better trip. Maybe with not quite as much to do, I think Parking Lot Pours would very much be one that you'd want to consider at this type of level next time out. Parking Lot Pours from race 5 on Friday, a playback that I think next time we're all going to be eyeing as one that could very much enter the winner's circle with a better trip. We're going to take a quick break. We went over last week's races, all the major events there, some horses to keep an eye on for the future. We'll be right back to talk about this week's races, Apple Blossom Week here from Oaklawn. Don't go away. All right, folks, now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of this week. A lot of fun things in store for us. Thursday through Sunday racing here at Oaklawn, of course. The headliner is the Apple Blossom. We'll talk about the field in a little bit, but to just mention the Apple Blossom quickly, it's a very important race here, not only at Oaklawn and the whole community. A lot of folks who are lifelong fans of Oaklawn or even new fans of the game learn about the Apple Blossom very, very quickly. And the Apple Blossom, of course, a race that you look at the past winners, just the list of winners. You get some of the top filly and mare routers of the generations running in this race. So it's a very important race. For the first time ever, it's going to be a win and you're in race, which means, of course, a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Distaff, which will be in November this year, later in the season, the top race for filly and mare routers, and whoever, of course, wins the race. If you're a win and you're in candidate, if you are Breeders' Cup nominated, that means that you get an all expenses paid free berth into the Breeders' Cup Distaff if you win the Apple Blossom. So a really cool caveat there that is added to the list of positives to win the Apple Blossom. You get a grade 1 win, you make a lot of money with that $1.25 million purse, and you just get a free entry into the Breeders' Cup Distaff while you're at it. So a lot of reasons why you want to run in the Apple Blossom if you're a top filly and mare, and also good reason to run in it for those reasons. Let's talk about Thursday's feature race before we get to the Apple Blossom or any other race for that matter. Here's the field, race number 7, a second level allowance here. This is a really good race, and the first horse I want to talk about here is Baddest Good Boy, a horse that early in his career last year at Oaklawn, this horse did some good work routing. Came off a long layoff to this meeting here with a new trainer, David Fox, and the first 2 races for him came sprinting here at the meet. Let's take a look at his last race. I mean, he was really far behind early last time out. He has no sprint speed. But this horse came with a real nice run down the lane was just out finished for third here. And we'll also show you the gallop out a little bit. I mean, this horse wasn't far off the winner on the gallop out. This horse wants to go farther. I think that when you look at the race that he comes out of, he finished behind Zero Sugar, who's a very nice sprinter. And I think that this horse is going to like getting to the route game. So with that in mind, Bad is Good Boy will be my pick in race number 7, a second level allowance on Thursday afternoon. Some other horses to mention, the morning line favorite, Gunrunner Charlie, cuts back a half a furlong. He won a mile and an eighth last time out and finished narrowly behind Stars and Stripes, a shipper for Bill Mott, who we could very well see in a stake next time. He's eligible and nominated for the Grade 3 Ben Ali next week at Keeneland at a mile and 3/16. That seems like a logical spot for him. I thought Gunrunner Charlie ran very well that day, and looking at who he finished behind, that would tell you that this horse, Gunrunner Charlie, is one of the horses to beat in here. We also talk about First Division. He's 2-1 on the morning line for Kenny McPeak. He's multiple stakes placed, ran second in the Coach Overnight Stakes and third in the General MacArthur Stakes earlier in the meet. He only lost by a half length in both races. Problem with him, though, is he has some hang in him. If you take a look at some of his replays, he's a horse that at the top of the lane, mid-stretch, he looks like he's going to run by horses. And right when he gets up to him, he hangs around with his buddies. He doesn't run by. So that's the concern I have. In terms of class he fits, does he have that oomph to win? That's still a question mark for me. And finally, also entered in this race, an interesting wild card we haven't seen in a while, American Promise, who ran in the Preakness last year, went in the barn of the late, great D. Wayne Lucas. He won the Virginia Derby at Colonial Downs last year as well, going the one-turn mile and an eighth. But this horse very much a two-turn distance type of horse. American Promise, a $750,000 purchase by Justify, making his first start of the year as a 4-year-old, first start since the Preakness. So he's coming off a 10-month break here and also making his first start for the Steve Asmussen barn. So American Promise, Bad is Good Boy, First Division, Gunrunner Charlie, all very nice horses. This is a really solid race here. And I would imagine whoever runs well in this race, it's a real good setup race for some sort of stake. Maybe if they want to wheel him back quickly, maybe even the Lake Ouachita Stakes at the end of the season here in May. But this is a good race. Race 7, a second level allowance for the older routers. We go to Friday afternoon. Race 7 is a really solid maiden special weight, I think. Here's the field for that. And the morning line favorite in this race is Silver Syndicate, co-owned by Oaklawn's president and owner, Louis Sella, as well as Barstool Sports' Dave Portnoy, who's a big racing fan and owns quite a few horses himself. Let's take a look at Silver Syndicate's last workout here. You take a look at this, a $400,000 son of Liam's Map. He's gone off favorite in his first 2 starts, 9-5 on the morning line here. I love the way he's going in this work. He's doing it easy. He looks like a horse that will benefit with distance. I've always thought this horse would probably be a little bit better going a route of ground than the sprint. He has sprinted okay, fine, hit the board both times and was battling for the win both times, but he looks to me like a horse that will like this added ground. He's got a good action to him. He's just cruising at a nice steady tempo here while doing it easily, and in the hands, the rider's got this horse on a hold, and I would think that this horse can accelerate and kick on when asked, go in the route game. So Silver Syndicate, he's the one to beat in here. I also think a horse that's interesting is Vintage Cowboy, who rallied on nicely last time out for a minor's slice in his maiden special weight first career race, and now getting to the route game for Steve Asmussen, a son of Essential Quality, purchased for $500,000. Interestingly enough, he's got plenty of sprint pedigree on the bottom side of his pedigree, but it looks like he's got that top side from the pedigree sort of translating into his ability on the racetrack. He seems to me like he runs like a router. So Vintage Cowboy, of course, that son of Essential Quality, who he himself was a pure router, and he looks like his dad, that gray horse you'll see out there. He'll be breaking from post 8. I think this horse, Vintage Cowboy, very much will take to the 2 turns and has some ability. Keith Asmussen has the call there. Now we get to Saturday afternoon, our big race card this week here, Thursday through Sunday racing, of course, here at Oaklawn. But Saturday is the headliner of the week. We've got 2 stakes races. Not only is it Apple Blossom Day, it's also Count Fleet Handicap Day. The Count Fleet, of course, every year, our top race for colts and geldings, older sprinters. Of course, if you're a filly or mare, if you have one that's good enough to run in this race, you could enter theoretically, but generally every year they are for the colts and the geldings. Let's take a look at the addition 2026 edition of the Count Fleet Handicap. This is a good group, I think, and it's a competitive group. There are many ways to go in this race. Unlike the last couple of years where Skelly's dominated at low odds, there are no low odds horses in this race, in my opinion. I think there are a number of horses that can win this race. And we'll start with the rail horse, talking about him, Maximum Bourbon, for trainer Phil D'Amato, making his first start for the D'Amato barn. They purchased this horse at a public auction after his last race for $400,000. Why do you go for so much? Well, let's take a look at this replay and I'll tell you why here. This horse finishing second. He's on the outside here down the lane. He finished second behind a stakes quality horse named Bill. Now, look at the final time of this race, 107.96. That was a track record at the fairgrounds. Holy smokes, that is blazing the trail, going very, very fast on the dirt there. It's a fast track naturally at the fairgrounds on the dirt, but this was a super fast race. He lost by a length and a half, and he hopped in the air at the start too a little bit, so he didn't even have the greatest start. Got a 103 buyer for running second here. Obviously, if this horse can run fast again, then he's a horse that very much could be interesting in a race like the Count Fleet. And I think Maximum Bourbon is one in this race that, drawing the rail, he's going to have to break well. He could get a good stocking trip off what's projected to be a very speedy tempo up top. But Maximum Bourbon, interesting to see how he does off that last race. It was a good race. This horse has been fairly consistent. He's very lightly raced. He's only run 5 times, but he's shown a lot of ability. He's got good speed figures even before that last race. He's never earned a triple-digit speed figure of a buyer, but he has run some races in the 90 speed figures, so he's a good horse and an exciting horse, knowing that he is lightly raced and obviously very much one with ability here. We'll see how Maximum Bourbon takes to the Oaklawn dirt coming from the fairgrounds. Has been working here since moving to the Phil D'Amato barn from trainer Joe Sharp. I want to talk about my top pick next, Tejano Twist. This horse has just been so cool. He's an older horse. He's come here each and every year I've been here at Oaklawn, and he's run well and so many big races here for sprinters. Let's take a look at his last race. He's coming into this off a 2-race win streak. This is the Grade 3 Whitmore victory that he pulled off here. He is a deep closer. He looks like he's got no shot at the half-mile pole, but he always runs on. Even if the pace isn't that fast, he's always moving late in the game. Now, the good news for him, I think, the pace is going to be wicked fast. You've got a number of very fast, speedy horses in this race. So that tells me that Tejano Twist is going to get the right setup in here. He's got 2 confidence-boosting wins, and I think trainer Chris Hartman has him going as well as he ever has. Look at his last 2 wins where he's won with something left in the tank. Tejano Twist, my pick in here. You also saw in that last replay, Tough Catch, who ran second. Wendelson, the stablemate to Tejano Twist, who ran third. Both of those horses also entered here in the Count Fleet on Saturday. Roll on Big Joe. He's the morning line favorite, and I think for good reason. He has a right to be. He won the Ring the Bell Stakes and the King Cotton Stakes. Let's take a look at his last win here. Skip the Whitmore for trainer Bob Hess Jr. to freshen up for this run here. Bob said, you know, we're going to give him a little more time between his last race heading into the Count Fleet. I saw Bob in November at Del Mar when I was there in San Diego, and he told me when I saw him that day, we're pointing for the Count Fleet. So this has been a long-term goal for Roll on Big Joe. Here he is. He's the morning line favorite. Bob Hess Jr. has done a really good job managing this horse. Pretty speedy horse. There's a lot of pace in here. Julien Leparoux has the call. I think that this horse is going to have to show that he's going to have to sit off a couple horses and run on this time. I think he can do it. He can sit off a little bit. We've seen him press the pace. We haven't really seen him sit off a pace and run on. It's not going to be 5 lengths behind. He's naturally quick, but he's going to be sitting about a length behind, I think, somewhere along those lines. He's going to try to run on past that fast pace and then try to hold off a closer like Tejano Twist. Finally, a horse to mention is Madhouse. He's another very speedy horse, part of the Speed Brigade in this race. He won the Grade 2 Gallant Bob for 3-year-olds at Parks on Pennsylvania Derby Day. That was last year. He was last seen in an allowance at Tampa Bay Downs off a layoff, winning very convincingly there. This is a tougher group. He was coming off a 4-month layoff in the Tampa Bay race. He's now here for trainer David Van Winkle. And this horse actually competed in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Much tougher group than the Count Fleet. He finished last First time without Lasix, did not run well there. Actually, it might have been his second time, as he did run at Parks with the Lasix. But Madhouse in this race, he's going to have to deal with speed, but he's a horse that's interesting. He's 15-1 on the morning line. Madhouse, 4-year-old here in the Count Fleet, will be a good class test to see where he faces against older stakes horses that maybe aren't the very, very best sprinters in the country, but very solid sprinters nonetheless. So that's the main contenders, I think, for the Count Fleet. That'll be race number 8 on Saturday. We go to race number 9, Maiden Special Weight group here. You've got a couple of very nice, well-bred horses, and we will start with the outside runner, Munning's Challenge. We're going to show you this workout video from him. The first full out of that very fast sprinter, Amy's Challenge, who also hit the board in routes in the Honeybee and Fantasy Stakes in 2018 as a 3-year-old filly, but she won a couple of sprint stakes here at Oaklawn as well. 3-time Oaklawn Stakes winner, Amy's Challenge. And I thought Munning's Challenge looked really good in this work, really dynamic. He looks very much like a sprinter, is built like a sprinter, very robust. I think this horse is going to be very tough to beat. Jose Ortiz, he's here to ride Nitrogen in the Apple Blossom. He's got the call aboard this one here. Draws a good outside post. I thought this horse ran a really good second on debut earlier in his career on Rebel Day, behind a horse, Fancy Fairlane, who looks like a stakes quality sprinter for trainer Greg Foley. A Munning's Challenge, low odds morning line favorite. He has a right to be. There's another first-time starter expected to get play, Jazzman for trainer Steve Asmussen, purchased for $975,000 by his owner, Gus King. Eric Asmussen going to ride for Steve, his father, breaking from post 4. Let's take a look at his last workout. The dam of Jazzman is actually a half-sibling to 3 stakes performers, including Grade 2 place Get on the Bus. This horse is from the same female family as 2014 Dubai World Cup winner African Story. And if you dig even deeper into the pedigree, you'll find plenty of turf horses here, plenty of turf route, plenty of turf stakes performances, a lot of European pedigrees. So this horse actually has very much turf pedigree, route pedigree. If you see him working here, this was a gate work, but if you take a look at this horse late in the workout, he's being asked to produce down the lane, and he's showing a little something here, but it's not something that's going to raise your eyebrows necessarily, in my opinion. I do think that routing is probably what this horse will be best at if he's a legit good racehorse. It'll be interesting if they try this horse on the turf. He moves like a horse that gets over the dirt fine, but he is under pressure to finish this work. He seems like a play against in a sprint race. I feel like this will be a good starting spot for him. If you look at his physicality, he is a beautiful looking horse. I can see why they bought this horse for a lot of money. Physically, this horse is a specimen. I don't know how fast he is right now. I could be wrong on this. I just wonder if this horse wants to go 2 turns. He's a play against for me. He's going to get bet with that purchase price in mind. You saw it right here on Out of the Starting Gate, where we try to give you some inside info here, show you some things that maybe a lot of other people won't see. This workout indicates to me I'm going to take a wait-and-see approach with him. He's going to get bet. I'm going to try to beat him in this race if I am a horse player here. Even if you want to use them in underneath and exotics, I understand. If you want to throw them on a pick 5 ticket as part of your horses to play in here, I get that. But the workout, just alone that workout indicates to me that I think a horse like Munning's Challenge is a lot more ready, fit, a lot faster than a horse like Jazzman in a sprint race, and I think Munning's Challenge will be pretty tough to beat in there. We go to race number 10, the Apple Blossom. Really good field signed on in here. Here is the field. Look, Nitrogen's the one to beat in here. She ran second in the Breeders' Cup Distaff last year, won the Grade 1 Alabama at Saratoga. She won the Bayakoa off a Grade 3 here at Oaklawn. But last time out, she did not come with her best effort over a wet surface. She has run well in the wet going in the past. She only had a few workouts leading up to the Bayakoa, was not 100% fit, won that race over a stablemate Neeraj Suri, who's also entered in this race. But then Nitrogen, she really threw in a clunker for her standards. I mean, if you're a 20-1 shot and you run 3rd in the last race there, the Azeri, let's take a look at that. If you run 3rd in a race like this and you're 20-1, you might shrug your shoulders and go, oh, that was pretty good effort from that horse. This filly was projected to win, and she was projected to show a statement that, hey, I'm the one to beat in the Apple Blossom here. She didn't show it that day. Assistant trainer Caden Arthur for trainer Mark Cassidy has noted to our Oaklawn publicity Robert Yates, excuse me, I'm thinking of Mark Casse. Robert Yates wrote in his news and notes that Caden says that nitrogen's working really well for the Apple Blossom. He's hoping that he sees the old nitrogen, which is what we saw 2 starts ago, which is what we saw when she ran second in the Breeders' Cup Distaff. He's hoping we do not see the Azeri nitrogen, where she ran somewhat of a disappointing race for her standards. But she is going to be the favorite, I would think, in this race anyway, with her class in mind. I'm going to try to beat her with Majestic Oops. I feel that nitrogen wouldn't surprise me if she's a little bit faster on the turf. I'm not saying she can't run well on dirt. We've seen it plenty of time. But we saw a different type of kick from her on the turf than we have on the dirt, in my personal opinion. I'm going to try to beat her, as she's likely to go off favorite. I'm going to pick the now horse Majestic Oops. We know she loves this track. Let's take a look at that last replay here once again, where she, of course, did win the Azeri here. Boy, I was impressed with this. I mean, first off a layoff, she didn't run well in the Breeders' Cup Distaff. She was also entered in that race. I thought in the American Beauty Stakes 2 starts ago, that was a good starting point for her. I thought that she would be better going her out of ground. I thought she was a little more effective going 2 turns. I played against her. She won for fun in the American Beauty and looked really good doing it. But then she came back in the Azeri and she won again. Even though she's sick, she's going better than ever right now for Dan Ward. As I mentioned, she likes this track. She's very versatile, very push button. I would imagine for Francisco Arrieta, her regular pilot, she's got to be a pretty easy mare to navigate, easy mare to ride. You can pretty much put her anywhere in the race based on how things shake out. And when you ask her to go, she goes. I just think she's the now mare. I think she's going really well. I think Dan Ward's done a phenomenal job getting her to where she's at. I remember calling her at Golden Gate Fields, and she lost a 12-5 claimer there on synthetic a number of years ago. She has just blossomed into a super nice mare. I'm not going to say she's the early winner of the Breeders' Cup Distaff this year, but I will say that against this group here, she's beaten nitrogen once. I'm going to try to do it again with her, Majestic Oops, in this race. Also regaled. She won the Grade 3 Delaware Handicap. Came with a flying finish last time. Sort of the Route Filly division in this race. She fits in this division. She's sort of the Route Filly version of Tejano Twist, that's well behind, comes with a run. She did that last time out in the Azeri, nipped nitrogen for second, but she ran over a wet track that day. In the Delaware Handicap, she was running over a wet surface. I think she's a little bit better over wet surfaces than she is fast. She can run well effectively on the fast going. To me, she's an exotics candidate if you use her anywhere. Mark Casse's got a second entrant in this race other than nitrogen. Nerazzurri, she was the runner-up in the Bayakoa to nitrogen, and she's won 2 stakes, overnight stakes, the Oaklawn Sports Overnight and the Tri-Vista Overnight Stake. She's a now runner similar to Majestic Oops, has really good form. She'll have to turn the tables on nitrogen. She's running against tough mares in here, much tougher than the one she's seen in those overnight stakes. But with that in mind, she does have good form. She likes this track, and she's got as good form as we've ever seen from her. So maybe Nerazzurri in this race, the other Mark Casse entrant. I mean, how many times have you seen the other entrant in a race, the longer shot of the two, maybe the one that isn't the class, get the job done in a good race? We've seen it plenty of times over the years. Wouldn't be a huge shock if that happened again. She'll need to run the race of her life, but there's no reason why she can't necessarily. That's Nerazzurri. And finally, Saffie Joseph Jr., who sent very live horses here. Minimal starters, but live horses in different types of races here at Oaklawn from his Florida string, whether it be claimers, allowances, stakes. He sent different types of horses here, and they've all run well pretty much. He's got 2 in here, a pair of Claret Beret and also Dazzling Move. I think Claret Beret very much the stronger of the 2. Let's take a look at her last win in the Grade 3 Royal Delta in February. Freshens up for this run here. She won by 5 here at Gulfstream. This was a good run. I mean, she sat off the pace, came with a big move on the turn, was wide turning for home, and just kept on chugging along. This is a tougher field than what you saw in the Grade 3 Royal Delta, but I do like her chances in this race from off the pace. There is some decent amount of speed in here. She's going to be coming from midfield here. Actually ran here for trainer Greg Compton at one point at Oaklawn and did some good work here as a younger filly. Now she's older and as good as she's ever been for Saffie Joseph Jr. That's Claret Beret, one of 2 for the Joseph team. The other, of course, being Dazzling Move. Edwin Gonzalez has the call there. Claret Beret with Micah Husbands, who of course was aboard Skippy Longstocking when he won the Essex Handicap a few weeks back. That's the Apple Blossom Good Field race number 10 on the 12 race program this Saturday. Finally, we got one more race to talk about on Saturday, race 11. It's a first level allowance at 1 mile. Here's the field for that. I'm interested to see how Favorite Day runs. I actually coincidentally did not make him my top pick in here. I picked another horse, Expect the Best, who has really good form. He's won 2 of his last 3 races. In the 3rd race in which he lost, he did not get a great trip that day. I thought he was best that afternoon. Should get a good stocking trip. But let's take a look at Favorite Day's workout on March 14th. That really, to me, sort of caught my eye here. $250,000 purchase here. He's the gray horse outside of Kells, who did not run that well in a 2-turn maiden special. He ran okay, not bad, but he didn't run great in a maiden special weight going 2 turns on Arkansas Derby Day. But this horse easily outworked Kells and looked really good in this workout. Actually was entered in a race the following week after this work. He was scratched, he missed a work, came back with an easy half mile. He's now back at the races. So whatever reason they had to scratch him for, something like that, it sounds to me, maybe he got sick, something along those lines. If you miss a work, you scratch out of a race, you're not out that long, usually that to me indicates illness. And if it's not an illness, if it's a physical thing, probably something that wasn't a big deal at all. He probably missed a day or 2 or 3 of training time at most. So obviously nothing to be concerned about. Surely his fitness is still there with 100% fitness, even though he lost 1 workout. But I think Favorite Day is one you need to pay attention to off that March 14th thrill. I thought he looked really good in doing so. He's lightly raced, but he's run well. Ran 2nd last time out to Reagan's Honor, who did not run well in the Grade 1 Bluegrass at Keeneland. Reagan's Honor, a 3-year-old going up against older that day at the fairgrounds where Favorite Day ran 2nd, ran a really good race, did not duplicate that run in a Grade 1 at Keeneland. But Favorite Day, number 1, and also my top pick, Expect the Best. Those are the 2 I think you really want to key in on in that first level allowance going a mile. So we talked about all our big races this week. Of course, Thursday through Sunday racing this week here at Oaklawn. I've got a clocker pick for you as well we want to mention here. We'll go to race number 6 on Thursday. He is a price. I think he's 12 to 1 on the morning line. Champagne Liberal. Let's take a look at this workout here. He's the inside horse breaking from the gate. A first-time starter by Medaglia d'Oro out of a versatile dam. She won at 1 and 2 turns, but she was a Grade 3 winning router on the turf. This is her first full. What I really liked about this work, he showed early speed and he did a really good job, solid job, I thought, keeping up with an allowance caliber horse here outside of him. His name is I'm McDreamy, who coincidentally, he was a workout clocker pick winner last year on an edition of Out of the Starting Gate. He's always been a very good workhorse. I'm McDreamy. I'm not expecting Champagne Liberal to beat a horse like I'm McDreamy in a work like this, and he didn't. But he kept up with him, and he's got speed. I liked his gallop out here. We're going to see it. He worked out of the gate here, and his work pretty much finishes at the quarter pole as they start. The gate works at the 6 furlong pole, and he went a sharp half mile and 47 and change here. So after the quarter pole and down the lane here, this is his gallop out, and I think he looked good on the gallop out. I think fitness will be no problem. Johnny Ortiz, who trains, he has good numbers with first-time starters. He can get them fit, ready to roll first out. In for 40,000 Champagne Liberal. I like this horse on this day. I think he should be ready to run really well in race number 6 on Thursday at a price. We'll see what price he goes off at, but if you watch this work, I think 12 to 1, if he's somewhere around that, too high of a price to ignore on Champagne Liberal. Finally, before we say goodbye until next week, we are going to look ahead to next week's Oaklawn Handicap, and we've got 2 major horses scheduled to enter and run in this year's Oaklawn Handicap. Breeders' Cup Classic winner White Barrio, who was most recently seen running 2nd in the Pegasus World Cup to Essex winner Skippy Longstocking, and Sovereignty, the Kentucky Derby winner of last year, who won the Travers, he won the Jim Dandy over the summer, was scratched out of the Breeders' Cup Classic with a minor illness, caught a temperature, it was scratched out of the race. He was projected to be the favorite. Of course, that race won by the World Traveler Forever Young. We have not seen Sovereignty since the Travers, going 1 mile and an eighth off this layoff here for Bill Mott. If anybody can get a horse ready to go off this layoff in a race like this, it's trainer Bill Mott. Let's check in with Sovereignty and see how he's doing with this workout out of the gate here outside of a workmate. Now, I thought this was a very workmanlike drill here by Sovereignty. comes out of the gate just fine, does it well early. Later in the work, you're going to see his rider get busy on him a little bit here. But what I like about this horse's work and what I like about this horse is that he is going to get stronger as the work gets longer. As the rider gets to work on him, he's going to stay busy. This horse is continuing to stay on, and you're going to see on the gallop out here late in this workout, he's going to push past his workmate, gallop out with the ears pricked, and he's going to gallop out with decent energy here. This horse, Sovereignty, to me, is an old throwback horse. He's a horse with a lot of stamina. Even though he probably just is naturally good enough to win at 1 mile, 1 mile and a 16th distances, he's the type of horse, when the distances get longer, he's going to thrive. He's going to keep charging down the lane and chugging along. He's a very athletic, naturally talented horse, but mile and an eighth off a layoff, as long as he's got the fitness into him, and with Bill Mott, you don't have to question that. This horse is going to be, I think, totally fine at 1 mile and an eighth off a layoff. It's not easy for a lot of horses to do that. I think this horse will be an exception. I think he's going to love 1 mile and an eighth. It's a great distance to start him back up. He'll be able to run all day. And I think with one more work this weekend before he ships here to Oaklawn, I think that gate work, 2 works before the race, I think that's really going to tighten him up a little bit. As I said, the rider is working on him a little bit. Remember, workouts are a little bit different than races when you're going head and head. And horses of this caliber, they don't always, when they're going head and head with horses going 4 or 5 furlongs in the mornings, look like a superstar. Sometimes there are times where a horse like him that wants stamina, wants distance, this horse has to be pumped on a little bit in the middle of his workouts. It's not a problem. He's the type of horse that as the distances increase, he's just going to get better as the strides lengthen here down the lane. As the strides continue on further and further to the finish line, he's going to get stronger and stronger, and that's what I saw from him here in this workout, that Sovereignty. Really much looking forward to seeing him on Oaklawn Handicap Week, a week from Saturday. We'll cross our fingers and hope him, White Abarrio, and everybody who wants to compete in the Oaklawn Handicap stays healthy. It won't be a big field in terms of numbers. You're going to see 4, 5, 6 horses in the race, but it's going to be a really, really good field with a Breeders' Cup Classic winner, a Kentucky Derby winner going head and head out of the gate, and probably a couple of other good solid horses in there. Should be a really fun edition of Oaklawn Handicap. That'll be next Saturday. We'll have a special guest for our Oaklawn Handicap show here and Out of the Starting Gate next week. But that does it for another edition of Out of the Starting Gate, sponsored by Oaklawn. I'm Matt Dinerman, your track announcer here at Oaklawn. Have a great Apple Blossom week, and we'll see you next week for another edition of Out of the Starting Gate. Take care.